So right before you got here, I just watched your music video for I'm Gonna Let It Go.
Yeah.
And my question is this. When you're an artist and you film a music video, are you actually singing the words out loud, or are you just lip singing to your own song?
Because, I've always wondered.
Especially on that one, it just looks like you're on some, like a sound stage or something like that. And I'm thinking, well, if he's had to sing it out loud for real
a bunch of times
with a bunch of people around the film, that might be kind of awkward a little bit. But I've always wondered that about music videos as a whole.
Everything about making a music video is awkward.
Is it?
Every part of it. But if you actually sing it out loud, the lip sync is more convincing. So but no one can really hear you because it's blasting on a speaker for you to sing along with too.
I was wondering about that. You just have to listen to it over and over.
But I do get hoarse and I get tired because you're like singing hard for like 6 hours.
Because you're a pretty mellow dude, and that's like a.
What do you mean I'm a mellow dude?
You're just like, does he not have like
calm.
a real calming energy right now?
What do you mean I'm a mellow dude?
Yeah.
Even before you came in, I said, he's so chill. I'm looking for it because I'm so hyper.
That's
so that seems like a lot of energy you have to exert.
Yeah.
For like, I don't know how many people are behind. Like when we see, you should, by the way, if you're watching this, you should stop watching this and you should look up the music video.
No later.
It's really cool because it's like all these pictures and you're just like running around. And
it turned out cool, didn't it?
It did. It's a really cool thing.
Look. Yeah.
But it looks like you probably have to exert a lot of energy. How many people are on the other side of the camera when it's just you?
It was two guys behind the camera, two people from my label and my manager who's here today. I also like to call him my muscle. And
also security.
And the other dancers,
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot of us, but it was super hot in that room. It was like really, really, really hot in there. I think of myself, I'm an introvert naturally, but I'm a professional extrovert. Like I can turn it on when I need to do it.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
Like in this job, there's no way that you can just be like, guys, I need to be alone for a few. They're like, take 17.
It's not really an option. Yeah.
Right. Well, we love the new song. We
Thank you.
The first time it came on, we were like, what is this? And we were kind of jamming to it. And
good.
I went to look it up today. And I just, of course, typed in Let It Go. And that is such a different movement. And so I'm guessing you wanted to name it that, but maybe you just knew it was taken.
Yes, I absolutely wanted to name it Let It Go. and actually my manager who's here, as I said, and the label said, no, dude, that's not going to work because there's this other song. But I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, you don't have any little
no
girls.
No one's going to do that, and you just proved him right. So
yes.
So we changed it to I'm Gonna Let It Go.
Yeah, and it was much easier to find that way. But we love the lyrics, and it's a fun kind of summer sounding song, but I know that it has a lot of heart behind it too. Yeah. So can you explain a little bit about the lyrics?
Yeah, sure. Well, it turns out that I'm kind of a control freak, I guess,
Same.
And I will take control and manipulate without even realizing that I'm doing it, So I won't even see how I'm doing it in the moment, but I can see the symptoms of it. Anxiety, stress, anger, depression, And so when those things begin to crop up in my life, then it's an opportunity to be curious and to see that maybe I'm not as surrendered as I'd like to believe I am, And but honestly, when I wrote the song, I kind of felt like, you know what, I've got this down. I've let go of things. I understand about being surrendered. This isn't one of the songs that I'm writing for me, but I'm feeling magnanimous today, so I'm gonna write this song to help all the other people in the world, because
I'm like
it's not
scared
for me,
already.
And then a couple months ago, I got an email from a person who made a decision that really impacted me in a negative way, and I was so angry with this person, and I was so angry that I couldn't sleep that night. And I lost sleep for 3 whole nights. Like I was just up all night rehearsing my outrage and the conversations that I wanted to have, but I'd probably never have with a guy, And after 3 nights of that, I was like, I can't afford this because my schedule is extremely demanding. And so I got to sleep and I got to figure out how to let this go. And I was doing an event and I was playing that song, and there's the line, it says, I've been losing my sleep, I've been losing my cool, staring at the ceiling, feeling like a fool. And I was like, oh my gosh, I actually did write this song for me. This is the song that I need, And so yeah, I need it.
How long?
As much as anybody else.
That's like a really cool story about how that song came together. How long, for anybody who's out, like struggling with control?
Yeah.
How long do you live in that place where you're like, I'm imperfectly dealing with things, I'm trying to get control, before you can actually look back and go, whoa, I got to fix that? Like, when did that point come? Even to the point where you're like, I'm going to write a song about it. Means you could reflect enough to sort of self-critique yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I need to improve. How long do you have to live with that before you get to a point where you're, at least I got to work on this stuff a little bit? Because sometimes I feel like if someone's living, like, that's the hardest part, is you have to stop and go, wait, I need to actually like tinker around and make myself a little bit better. What was that like for you?
Yeah. How long do you have to live like that? I would say you have to live, until you are so miserable that you are willing to, like, be like, man, my life's not working. Something's not right under the hood, and I need to be curious about that, So,
Wow.
so yeah, and that's with anything that we deal with, right? Too, and it's and at the same time, I think it's important that we are humble enough to recognize, or humble enough to allow ourselves to be imperfect too, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's if there's a thing that happens a lot in the church, I think, among believers, we can just be really hard on ourselves for, like, oh man, I can't believe I'm still dealing with this, and what's wrong with me, and that's just not helpful, right? Because whenever we do that, we are holding hands with the accuser of the brethren, right?
Why do you
playing his game? Right?
Why do you? That's so true.
We just had a conversation.
Why do you think that believers do that?
Well, I mean,
it's true. I'm a believer.
Yeah.
She's a believer. I would say we both kind of like.
We both
in that
have
moment,
done that.
Did you not just do like a little? Yep.
Yesterday on the show, we were talking about how I do that all the time, and I was like, I need to.
So why do you
this.
think that is?
I think it's a combination of two things, and one sounds a little judgmental. So, like, I don't mean to beat us all up here even more, but I'll say this like this: there is a humility in the scrawny guy who goes to the gym and realizes, I'm not going to lift 200 pounds today, but I'm going to lift what I can, and I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to keep coming back, right? There's a humility there that isn't there in the person who just goes to the gym and expects to be able to do it all on the first day, right?
Yeah.
So having that kind of humility to recognize that we are a work in progress, and then also just, living inside the grace of God. And, one of the first things my mentor told me is, he said, bro, you got to give yourself permission to be imperfect. And it's weird because this perfectionism feels like humility. It feels like we're being, like we aren't being proud. But I don't know, that there's a weird lack of humility in it, that allowing ourselves to be imperfect and going to the gym and lifting the small amount that we can, or like, you know what, I don't know how to surrender everything, but I can surrender this little piece today, There's a humility in that that's good.
I
helpful.
weirdly get that. I've never quite been able to put that to words.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do sort of feel, if I'm going to be authentic, sometimes it's like, well, if I know all these things and I believe what I believe, don't I have a certain obligation to make leaps and bounds throughout my day about the people that I encounter? And if I don't, well,
you're just hard
and
on
then I just
yourself.
forget to stop and work on the little things that, are going to make me better, because I have like this weird burden on my back to, like, but humility is a really weird way to not weird, but like just a way that I don't know, just humanizes that feeling. I think a little bit. That's really good.
I've got a theory about it, and I could be wrong, so I don't get angry with me. It's just a working theory. Give me permission to be imperfect.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder if the verse that says, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect," if the purpose of that verse, because so much of Scripture is about coming to the end of ourselves and surrendering to, and Christ being our perfection, all that. So is the mandate to be perfect as God is perfect meant to bring us to the end of ourselves quicker? Like, I can't be perfect, and so it brings me to the end of myself, which then opens me up to Christ being my perfection,
Ooh, I like that working theory.
We'll see.
I do, because when I try to be perfect, I deal with perfectionism as well. And when I try to do that, all it does is things that are negative. So there's no way that verse is actually saying you need to figure out how to be perfect, because when I try, I fall to pieces.
Yeah, because everything else in Scripture seems to be offering this other path of relying, of reliance rather than personal perfection,
That's good.
So.
I feel like I'm getting a lot out of this, but I feel like there's so much synergy happening here. I'll tell you a weird thing.
Are you saying he should be the third member on the show, on air?
I'm ready.
I do.
CJ, Joy, and Jason. It actually sounds good.
But I'm going to tell you, he does something that you do all the time.
What?
Which is just we're just talking here, but she will do this thing where she fires out many warning shots all the time. Like, I'm going to do this thing, and it may not be this, that, and the other.
Right.
And I don't know, but it's just so much of what he's saying is reminding me. He'll do it too. Hey, don't get mad because I'm about to do, And then of course you say it. No, it's not. It's lovely actually. But then you say it, and then of course you're, as an outsider, you're like, well, why would I ever get mad at that? You're just so neutrally disarmed.
So good.
But
I'm probably trying to do like pre-damage control.
Yeah.
Like, so.
But that's really good though, because besides her, I have people in my life who I love that have that same thing in them. And I think that's why I sit here and I'm actually kind of really enjoying where this conversation is going, because not only is there a lot that I can learn from what he's saying, but there's a lot to be learned about how to treat people or how to
treat yourself.
Yeah, treat yourself and understand. Just to hear you put it to words makes me understand. Oh man, just the turmoil that a perfectionist must be going through in their mind sometimes. Right. When I'm just sort of like, hey,
we're
man,
on the same
life
side
is short,
of the table.
let it go. Let's have a good time.
Yeah.
But and then it's actually so interesting too, because you really can't judge a book by its cover, because you are such a mellow, fun guy to be around. Like, doesn't he just feel like what do you want to do? He'd be like, whatever you guys want to do.
The beautiful thing about the things we struggle with, like if you struggle with perfection, then that becomes your lifelong project between you and the Holy Spirit. And that means, hopefully, if you're allowing the Spirit to work in your life, that then that thing you struggle with becomes a teacher in a sense, and you become the master of letting things go and the opposite of perfectionism. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
The thing you struggle with helps you to be the master of its opposite over the course of your lifetime. So.
That is so good.
Isn't that so cool?
See, he's an insightful dude. Like, I told CJ this because I had a chance to hear you perform recently, and the name of his whole new album is Order, Disorder, Reorder. And I was just sitting there in the audience, and I'm a mess of a person. I'm really honest about that, with anxiety and all these other things. And the way you talked about how everything in life is a season was so beautiful. I came back and was like, CJ, I have to do like a break on the show about this, but I couldn't articulate it as beautifully as you did, how like you're always somewhere in that process. Right. Can you talk about that? Because I feel like that comes out of what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I wrote a song called Order, Disorder, Reorder, and it came out of, whenever I'd go through something difficult or painful, my mind would go to one of three places. It would go to, oh no, I must have done something wrong and God is angry with me, and that's why this awful thing is happening. Or maybe he doesn't care about my life, or maybe he doesn't exist. And those three places that my mind would be tempted to go, it never helped. It only made me more anxious or more miserable, And then I got some new language. Like I heard this phrase, and like, have you ever heard the right words at the right time, and it just kind of burned away the fog and brought clarity and helped you reframe your circumstances in your own mind, And the language was this: I'm being transformed when I'm moving along the spectrum from order into disorder into reorder. I'll say it again. I'm being transformed when I'm moving along the spectrum from order into disorder into reorder. And what that means is, like we know what order is. Order is when things are going according to plan and the way we think it ought to be going. And that's great there, we ought to work toward order. But the problem with order is that you don't learn anything new in a season of order. And you can also become kind of arrogant too, like, oh, look how well I've ordered my life,
complacent.
Yeah. And so you can become arrogant and you don't learn anything new. And those are the problems of order. But don't worry, because chaos is always lurking around the corner, right? And that's
How
the antidote.
encouraging is that?
And something will happen that will throw us into disorder, maybe like a health scare or a job loss or a relationship breaking down or depression, whatever it might be. And it reminds us that we weren't as in control as we thought we were, and our answers weren't as sufficient as we thought they were. And it's painful enough that it might make us desperate enough to be open to encountering the Lord and the truth in a way that we hadn't before. And then that's the beginning of reorder. And I think we've all experienced that, where we go through something painful and we come out the other end wiser, kinder, less judgmental, more loving, all those things, and that is, as I understand it and experience it, how we are made new by going through that over and over. And why that was so helpful to me is, before, whenever a storm would hit in my life, I'd be seized with fear or guilt, anxiety, cowering in the corner. And these words, that idea has helped me to anticipate good things in the storm. Like, oh, wow, looks like I'm in the middle of disorder again. That means I'm about to learn something that's going to change my life, and I'll be so grateful for.
Yeah.
And so it's just removed a lot of the anxiety and all that kind of stuff, and made me more teachable and open in the tough times. So.
I love that belief that reorder is coming. Because one of the lies that sometimes I hear is, well, it's just going to be like this forever.
Right.
Like when it gets really bad, you're like, well, this is just it. This is my life now. That's what the negativity speaks. But that quote speaks that, like, this is temporary. And what are you going to learn? Who are you going to become?
There's an opportunity.
Reorder's coming. And like, what you going to get before it comes?
You got to have, they're going to cut us short on time, but I do want to get this in real quick.
Right.
You really do got to have a firm understanding of what Jason was just saying. To have a stutter, which is something that he's talked about before, and he lives out loud, and to say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a performer, which is going to have me living in this place where I'm constantly going to have to be
speaking
and okay with, that part of me and
being
overcome.
Imperfect.
Being imperfect, right? And I don't know if that's ever like a conscious thing, or if you're just like, I just want to be an artist so much that this is just something I'd just love to hear you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, thankfully, it hasn't been acting up that much during our conversation. So I'll have days where it's like, oh wow, it's gone, and then I'll go to call in an order of pizza on the phone, and like, oh gosh, I can't do it. So I'm having a good day right now.
Yeah,
but yeah, I just I had a sense of God's calling on my life, and I thought, well, this is going to complicate things. And I used to argue with him about it, saying, Lord, you can't make me your spokesperson until you make it so I can speak. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you tell God that he can't do something, it kind of becomes a dare that he can't resist, right?
So, never thought of that.
Yes, Jason, I'm God. I think I know what I'm doing here.
Exactly.
It's like a Moses moment. He's like, I made your mouth. I'll make it talk where I want. And you're like, oh no.
And then I used to imagine that it was a liability. And then, over the years have discovered, well, Because okay, here's what I bet. I bet if you didn't know that I stuttered before you met me, once you knew that I did, I bet it made you like me just a little bit more, right?
I love you.
And
it's awesome.
And I think that because I know that if I got to know your weaknesses a little bit more, it'd make me like you a little bit more too. And it's because our weaknesses and imperfections make us a safe place for each other. And like if you are transparent about your imperfection, it makes me feel like, oh, they're not perfect either. That means I can stop pretending and I can stop hiding and I can bring my heart to a moment like that. And that is the gift of our weaknesses, you know. And once I understood that, then I became a lot less anxious about it. And so,
I'm sure inspirational for people. Like I'm from a family of stutterers, and you know
You are? Really?
Yeah, and I'm like the only person who didn't end up with it, but all my brothers in speech therapy, and my dad is a pastor, so he would get up some Sundays and really struggle, and he had a similar journey to you. So the fact that you're up there for, I feel like, people who have the same struggle and probably go, I can't get up there. Like you probably have no idea the number of people you've inspired.
I hear from some people, and it's really sweet. So yeah.
As soon as you hear it, you are disarmed, because I think in your own mind you go, well, what, you know, you immediately go to your stutter, whatever it is, whatever that thing
Whatever it
is, you
totally.
go, oh well, and you just feel a connection.
Yeah.
All right, we got to stop. But this has been 22 minutes. Would you believe that we didn't actually meet Jason until he walked in? I didn't. Have you met him before?
I don't think I have. I've seen him from a distance. I'm a fan.
I just want to say I have felt so at ease and just thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, man.
Thank you so much.
That means a lot to me.
For coming in. And you are welcome here with us anytime. If you're not promoting the record, just come hang out with us.
Oh, man.
The CJ, Joy, and Jason show coming soon.
I love it.
That's right.
I love it.
Thank you, Jason.
I'll come with some more jokes next time.
Yeah.
Bring jokes.